this video, we'll review how to best set up your facility settings so that as you go throughout Canix, things are set up best for each user depending on how you want it standardized in your facility. Under Admin, Facility Management, you'll see a list of all active facilities in your company, and in order to change the setting for each facility, you'll select the hyperlinked name in the table. To start, we'll start with the logo here at the top. And this is the logo that represents your facility for things like invoices, sales orders, purchase orders, and they can also be added to labels. These must be in the PNG, JPG, or JPEG format, which means things like PDF and SVG must be converted to this format before they can be uploaded. The facility name is a free-form name here. This only shows in Canix as you navigate throughout reporting and as you select facilities in your top left. This will by default be the facility license number, but it's best to specify a more friendly name to make it clearer to everybody using the different facilities. The facility type is specified as we create your facility initially during the implementation phase. But if this doesn't accurately represent the facility type that you have, you can go ahead and select the different facility type here below. This only changes certain settings like manufacturers having access to the manufacturing module and cultivators having access to the plants and harvest module. Otherwise, this doesn't restrict or change anything in your settings in Canix. The license number is also set at the beginning of implementation from your intake form, but if you do need to change the license number or if you've received a new license number, reach out to our support team at help@canix.com to get that updated. The package tag prefix represents the tag number that we pre-fill for you as you create new packaged inventory. Package tags are 12 digits long and they can be alphanumeric, but those do get set initially here in the facility settings, and this only affects the very first package that you create. These settings do not apply to plants, and if you've already uploaded packaged inventory, this does not change any new inventory tags moving forward. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's best to add a prefix if you have multiple facilities so that as you transfer inventory from cultivation to manufacturing to distribution, for example, those tag numbers don't conflict with each other as they must be unique in the facility that they're in. So for example, we may represent that our Oklahoma processing facility starts with these 3 digits, and Canix will automatically add 9 numbers afterwards, starting with 8 digits of 0 and a 1 at the end of that. If you've already created packages in your facility or already uploaded packages in your facility, then the only way to update a new prefix moving forward is to create the next package tag with this prefix. Then after that, Canix will count up 1 tag number from that tag number that you've created with that prefix, making the prefix the pre-filled option moving forward for your packages. The next step here is your invoicing name, and this is what will be displayed as your doing business as name or your other names displayed on Canix documents like invoices, sales orders, purchase orders, and Canix generated manifests. If you leave this blank, we'll default to the company name that was provided on the intake form prior to implementation. So if as you're creating these documents, you see an incorrect name, you can overwrite that name with what you want displayed here. The contact details are per facility, and these are set up from when you initially created your intake form for implementation. These show up on invoices, sales orders, purchase orders, and Canix generated manifests, and the address is used to calculate that route initially that we pre-fill for your manifests. This should represent the physical address where you're actually receiving or shipping inventory from. So if you do have your corporate address here, that should be updated to reflect the transfer address. In the facility settings section is where you can specify more defaults to control how inventory and sales work within your facility. If you need more information as you go through these fields, you'll see as you hover over them, there's a tooltip that will appear providing a little bit more information about each of these steps. Before jumping into each setting, let's talk about the three main options that you have by default for package statuses. Package statuses can be used to prevent packages from being edited or sold when they're not supposed to. So using the in progress status by default restricts packages from being sold or transferred, but still allows them to be edited or converted into other types of packages. Available to sell represents that the package is ready to go out the door, so they can be added to sales orders or transfers, and they help populate in different reporting the quantities per item that are available for sale. In quarantine restricts the package from being edited or sold until the status of that package is changed. So this is best used for things like initial intake and having packages sit in a 24-hour quarantine period, or if it's awaiting testing and you don't want the package to be edited until the test results are returned. In general, a default status of in progress is best so that inventory isn't restricted when you don't really want it to be by putting it in quarantine, and it's not available to sell until you've specified that it's available to sell. Any custom statuses that you've created are not available to select as defaults here, but those are available to select or change inventory to as actions in the packages table. For default returned packages, these are packages that you've marked returned on a sales order and brought in as a return transfer into your facility, and you can determine what status you want to bring these in as. For example, in quarantine may represent that you want to take an extra step as inventory is returned back to your facility before it's moved to in progress and used again, or moved to available to sell again. Others may want to move it back to in progress for a similar purpose to just review or check the inventory before it's available to sell again. Although for anybody who doesn't need to check that inventory, if it's fully packaged, for example, ready to go, that can be marked as available to sell as soon as it's returned to your facility. Note that as you return packages in your inventory, it must be marked as returned on the sales order. Otherwise, the default status will be the automatic status of allocated until it's marked returned on the sales order. Now for some different sales order settings. As you go through and add packages to sales orders, they can either be displayed on the sales order by their tag number or by the order that they were added to a sales order. That means if you add or scan packages out of order, but assign them physically in a specific order, you may want to specify that they show up as the way that they've been added. So you can quickly go down the list in the system and see that it matches the line of packages that you have physically in front of you. As you look to assign inventory or items to your sales orders, when you go and look at that sales order search to select from different products, you have options to select what type of packages or type of items are available to select from. All of these have different descriptions below them to make them clearer, but we'll go through them a little bit more in depth now. This first option will allow you to select any item, both active and inactive items in your facility, even if there's no associated packages with them. So that means you might want to pre-order or to allow pre-ordering in your facility as you produce for those different orders, and this would be the setting that you set. In this setting, for all active items and only inactive items with active packages, this is by default set for your facility when it's created. And this will show any active items that you already have in your facility, regardless if you have packages for them. And it will also show any inactive items that you still have active packages for. So this allows for pre-ordering any existing inventory items that you expect to produce, but it also allows you to sell packages of items that you've stopped producing, those inactive items. The next option will let you sell any active items or inactive items with available to sell packages. And this shows only items that are in your active items table, regardless if there's packages available to sell on them. And it also shows any inactive items from your table, but only those items that have packages marked available to sell. Again, this helps narrow down even more what's available to sell within your facility versus the previous option, which didn't care about the status of the package. The next option is all items with active packages. So this doesn't matter what type of item is on the package or what status the package is, just any packages in your active table will be able to be sold or assigned to a sales order. This assumes that any packages that are in the status of in progress or in quarantine will eventually be moved to available to sell to fulfill that order. The last item is all items with available to sell packages. This is the best one to select from if you're not doing any pre-orders. Only items that have packages that are ready to go out the door are available to select from in this flow. Below the sales order settings is the setting for bill of material outputs. This setting determines which items can be assigned as outputs to your bill of materials. By default, it will say as active items only, and it's recommended to keep it as active items only. If you're unfamiliar with bill of materials, Canix will deduct bill of materials automatically as packages of that item are created. And since all items in standalone facilities are active items, it's best to leave these as active items only. The next setting here also determines the package's status. When this option is checked, this means that if we receive test results that say test passed for a package, we will automatically change the package's status to available to sell. So regardless of the default that you have set here or any setting that the user had manually assigned to a package, as soon as we see a test pass status assigned to that package, we will mark it as available to sell. If that shouldn't happen and you should dictate always when it gets marked as available to sell, you don't want any automation, you can deselect this option, and that will require that you set the package as available to sell when you're ready. For standalone facilities, the only way that we will automatically mark your packages as test passed automatically is if you have a Confident Cannabis integration, or if you've manually uploaded any test results that say test passed. That way, we'll be able to automatically mark it available to sell for you. Lastly, despite what you have set here for your sales order searches, even within items for available to sell packages, you can also limit items even further to only show items of finished goods, meaning items with the accounting inventory type set to finished goods will be displayed in the sales order. If you don't select this option, then we will default to whatever items you've selected here in this setting. As you finish making these changes and you want to save these to your facility, select Update, and any future changes or inventory actions will default to the settings that you have listed here. If at any point you have any questions or any issues updating your facility, feel free to reach out to our support team at help@canix.com or take a look at our Help Center up here in the top right with the question mark.